God, I can't believe it's almost the end of, or like I can't believe we're almost in September.
Yeah.
14 game slate ahead of us. It looks pretty tricky from a pitching perspective, so we're going to have a lot to talk about, or maybe not a lot to talk about. We shall see. Adam, how did your night go?
It went okay. Pirates came through. They were, I think my highest on stack was either them or Colorado, but had a lot of Kevin Newman, had a lot of Jose Ozuna, which was nice, but nothing crazy. What about you?
You same sort of scenario, like, up 10% or something, which is, it always feels good the next morning, but those are the days where you're just like, a little bit more and I could have had a monster night.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to complain too much. Yeah, you had 26% Kevin Newman in the $16 on DK last night. That must feel good when he goes for 42. I didn't realize he was $5,100.
Yeah.
Whew. I mean, obviously I understand why he was 5,100, but good God, that is a big time price tag. Didn't see Kevin Newman and Victor Caratini being the two highest scoring hitters last night, but here we are.
Did you know that Kevin Newman's the first rookie to have 4-hit games in a season since Mike Trout?
I didn't know Kevin Newman was a rookie, so I was out at the beginning of that sentence.
he's a legit talent.
Sure. I didn't realize that this was the first year that he was up.
Yeah.
No, that's a really crazy stat. Chris Paddock going crazy for 30. Bobby Doug's going for 27. Good job having 43% of that. Yeah, you just couldn't put the pieces together, I guess, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. That was definitely. I had mentioned in Slack that once I made my lineups, it went not even a direction I wasn't anticipating, but a little bit or a lot heavier on some cheap pitching than I expected to be on. Like, I obviously hadn't really talked much about Duggar or Felix Hernandez throughout the day because they both suck and there's nothing really to say. But it just goes to show how that slate worked out. Like the bats that I thought you wanted to prioritize.
Yeah, let's take a look at pitching exposure quickly. Highest scoring pitcher, Chris Paddock, 30.75. Both you and Alex had him at 7.3%, which is about half the field. You smashed Duggar, which was obviously incredibly excellent for you. Trevor Williams got 21.5. Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, not owned that much. Oh, actually, honestly, 3.5% is more than I would have expected. DeGrom was fine, I guess. Totally unnecessary. Let's see. Felix finished with 7.8. I think you and I had pretty comparable amounts there. Alex was pretty heavy on him too. And then Derek Rodriguez was just a big old pile of garbage, but he was basically a big old pile of garbage for every single person, considering he was 44% owned in that contest.
Yeah.
Ooh, I didn't realize that things did not go well for Ryu.
Yeah, the Diamondbacks came close to winning the slate.
Yeah, negative 2.7. Let's take a look at the full stack numbers. We pull out pitchers here. I assume the Pirates were the top stack, and then the Diamondbacks. Yeah, by a mile. Whew. Okay, so you needed those two for sure. Pittsburgh 129 fantasy points. Arizona 107. Next closest team, Colorado, at 79. And that's a massive gap. Both you and
Winning
Alex.
lineup didn't have it, though.
Really?
Yeah, it was
just
Pittsburgh
naked Pirates.
stack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. They have any Arizona? No. I mean, I guess they're so low.
Aquino, Fraley.
Yeah, they're so low owned that,
right.
They end up being really difficult to get to. 18% total exposure. They were the second lowest owned team behind San Francisco, and one of three that were essentially unowned. So even if they do go crazy, it's really hard to get that opposite side and still have the nuts. Mavin Goose,
pretty tough day
50K.
for Ricky D. Did you see that?
Second, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, and 12th and 13th.
Just but not getting first. That sucks.
Yeah, Mavin Goose.
All of those combined for less than if just one lineup got first place.
That is kind of brutal. 35, 37, 38, all at 40. Oh, God. That's the worst.
I would say he played that slate better than anyone.
Safe to say, yeah. That's a lot of Pittsburgh at the top. A lot of Pittsburgh naked, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess I get it. That's probably
his
an
first,
easy way to get like different lineups. If you're going
yeah,
to the chalk stack, don't have a stack with it.
yep. Plus, I kind of prefer that now too on DraftKings, just because of all the home runs.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a mix between getting your favorite one-offs and still stacking.
Yeah, you can make a case that like you don't really need to run the 5-3. Run it as 5-0. You'll still get, potentially a couple threes. You'll get
Yeah.
a chunk of twos.
I mean, the correlation is obviously higher, and that's good in the 5-3s.
Right.
But people also run those, and it's harder it's harder within that to be different. Like if once you have your two teams that you're stacking, anyone else that's stacking those two teams has the same constraints, obviously. So you start to. I found that most of my dupe lineups are 5-3s.
Makes sense. It's the most generic way. I mean, it's a lot harder to dupe a 5 blank.
Right.
So there were obviously 5, 5-2, and 5-3 last night in that contest. There were just over 2,000 5-3s, just over 3,000 5-2s, and like 1,750 5 naked. So, we're looking in. It's a pretty easy split, 5-2 being the more popular one for sure, but pretty equal on both sides of 5-3s and 5 nakeds. The average score? Yeah. Average score on the 5 naked was 14 points higher than the 5-3s, which makes sense.
Just looking through my lineups right now, the top out of the ones that are on my screen, I have 4 that were duplicated. They're all 5-3s.
Let me pull you up here. Where did you go? I know I saw you. There you are. Let's see your dupes. 5-3. Okay, so you had, I don't know, let's call it 15 lineups that were duped. Most were 5-3. A couple scattered 5-2s. And a duped 4-3 Dodgers Rockies with Rodriguez Duggar. That's a different one. 50K in salary. That makes sense. That's also going to make it a little bit easier to get duped.
Yeah.
Let's see. Your top lineup was Pirates Rockies. Surprise.
Yep. Yeah, I think out of all of my dupe lineups except 2 or 3 were 5-3s.
Now I just want to see how much dupe I had. Where's Josh Engelman hiding? Oh, wow. Sorted and basically landed directly on it. That was fantastic. Saving me a lot of time. I had 2 lineups that were duped 6 times. One at 5 and then a chunk of 3s and 2s. Similar overall number, but 6 and 5. Rockies, Dodgers, and okay, 6 people had Dodgers Marlins with me.
They red roses of the day.
Called the Castro dong.
They did come through for what the Marlins are. Like Dean homered, Castro homered, and someone else homered. Birdie.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately meaningless stack, but they did the things that individual hitters need to do if you want to try to grab them.
Yeah, they pissed me off for a while because when DeGrom started really well, and then the cheap Marlins were homering, and it was just like, okay, well, this is not going how I needed it to.
Exactly. I was not happy about it either. Still though, a 5-man Dodgers, 3-man Marlins stack getting duped 6 times makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah, that's weird too, especially on the course slate.
Right, and that's
not the combo I would expect
at 49.8 too. So it's like it's not even just full salary and it fits. Weird. Like the other one was Rockies Dodgers with Wood and Felix. That doesn't shock me in the least. How owned were these Marlin bats? Alfaro at 9%, Castro at 6%, Brinson at 12%. Okay, so it's like the chalk Marlins. Anyway.
Yeah.
At least 150 max took down that. Well, actually it was 100. Mav only played 100 out of 150, so took it down. 50K. Alrighty. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us. Any monthly package you choose. If you are looking to check out what we have to offer for Osmo Plus, use the promo code MLB Strategy and you can get 50% off. NFL season starting up next week. Get excited, everybody. Not to mention, baseball's still around. Basketball in 2 months. Slowly getting to the goods. Slowly getting there. MMA, NASCAR, PGA. We're in the swing season. WNBA, hockey coming back soon. Never slows down. And then I'm going to drop the link into chat right now. Today is Friday. Yahoo specific strategy article from our boy Emac. There's some instructions at the top for how to sign up at Yahoo. You could use the promo code AWESOMO and get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points. They are running, in my opinion, the best NFL contest for week 1. It is going to be my priority enter for that Sunday. Can't wait. It's like the only thing that's getting me excited for the NFL, but I'll take what I can get. Check out Emac's article. Gives you some picks, some strategy. I'm just basically reading the title in front of you guys that you can also see. So do that. But again, AWESOMO is the promo code to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points. For those of you that are playing MMA, lineups lock at 3 a.m. So, less than 24 hours from now. And the card is booty. Zaven, if I'm saying that correctly, we will absolutely not have college football ownership. I'll bet my life on that. Sorry, man. There's not. That's a fool's errand for people. First thing that friend of the program Ben Rasa messaged me this morning was Chip Kelly didn't play his All-American running back last night. Found out that he was hurt once the game started. So, trying to figure out ownership on that seems like it's going to be a bit of a task if no one knew that an All-American running back was not going to be playing yesterday until kickoff. That'll do it. 14 games, man. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
And we are starting off with a doozy, at least for pitching. 5.7 run implied total for the Nats, 3.7 for the Marlins. 69% chance to win for Washington.
Nice.
Anibal Sanchez going for the Nats. Alicia Hernandez going for the Marlins. Sanchez getting some ownership. 17% on Yahoo, 19 on FanDuel, 26 on DraftKings. In no way do I disagree with it. His price is too low, in my opinion, for a matchup with Miami. I got relatively comparable numbers to the field on DK, but I got up to 30% on FanDuel on my dummy crunch. Let's start at Sanchez. How do you feel about him here against the Marlins?
It's a good matchup. 8,800 seems like a really expensive price tag. Like he's fully priced for this matchup, I think.
Yes, he is. The problem is there's not really a ton of lovely stuff around him.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, I think that I wouldn't really like to get all that much, especially if he's getting ownership. But when you look at the other options, I guess it's tough. But I'd rather get Zach Wheeler for 200 more.
Wheeler at 13% ownership. I have Sanchez fully ahead of him, but at the same time, if Wheeler's not getting any love, that's sort of the upside play that I'm willing to take.
Yeah, I don't know. Sanchez is just someone that I think maybe ends up in some lineups because the matchup's good, but I think that he's priced completely to the ceiling.
I don't disagree. It is a big price tag. 7,700 on FanDuel, I really like.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, he's got a 19.5% strikeout percentage this season. He's 18th on the slate or something.
Yeah, not much of a strikeout guy. He just doesn't get blown up, and this one fits him perfectly.
He has a 5x FIP and a 503 Sierra.
Does he really?
Yeah.
His ex-WOBA numbers and stuff look pretty good for the season, right?
Yeah. If I remember right.
I looked at it for 2 years, since 2018 when I wrote up Spotlight Pitchers this morning. 139 against lefties, 118 against righties.
Yeah, he's that. Yeah, you're right. He's been one of those guys this year where projection systems have always been higher on the team against him than I think they should be. But 21% strikeout percentage against righties. It's not even like you're getting a guy like, I don't know, Soroka, where strikeout guy, but he has a 10-point split between righties and lefties.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine. It's not like I think it's a bad play. It's just I'm not excited about it. I hope that I find other options.
Good luck with that. Speaking of other options, Hernandez on the other side, not really getting any ownership on Yahoo and FanDuel, 7% on DraftKings. Tough spot. going into Washington. Let's see, on DK, I got to 12%. I mean, to me, he's just sort of like a guy I probably end up with a little bit of, and I'm not really excited about it.
I always get a lot of him. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that will be the case today too, because pitching's not very good. He's cheap. He has the sixth highest strikeout percentage on the slate. It's a bad matchup. It's a huge park downgrade. Um, but he does have pretty good strikeout stuff. He is really cheap. I'm not going to be comfortable having him, but I imagine in tournaments that I probably end up overweight.
Yeah, we are on the same page here.
Like when you look at the pitching around him, it's just, Edwin Jackson against the Twins, Brett Anderson against the Yankees, Trent Thornton against Houston, Jose Suarez against Boston. I'll take Hernandez.
Yeah, I got Suarez in my crunch at 16%. Nobody else is like higher than 4, so dummy crunch. We'll see where this ends up. Not like I really want Suarez in that spot either, but we'll get there. Let's talk Nats bats. 12% aggregate ownership on FanDuel. Very popular, particularly the Soto, Cabrera, Adams, Suzuki. I don't know, duo times 2. What's a group of 4 people?
Quartet.
Thank you. Too early for that shit, man. It's too early. Not really getting all that much ownership on DraftKings. You looking to grab some Nats here? I mean, the run total looks great. I feel like I won't have as much as the field on FanDuel. On DK, I don't really know what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in the Nats because they just give you such a good. They have a lot of power in their lineup, but they also have guys that don't strike out. So they have power hitters that actually put the ball in play and makes them pretty fun to roster usually. And on slates like this, they're normally not that popular as long as their pricing is expensive, which it is today. So, but I think I'll have Hernandez, like I said, but I also think that the Nats at least are interesting in tournaments. But there being 28 teams, I obviously don't know where I end up, but they are one of the teams that I think has a lot of upside here. Almost a 6 implied run total. A still questionable pitcher in Hernandez and a weak bullpen behind them. So there's no real doubt about the upside. And then you also get some cheaper bats with Cabrera and Adams and Suzuki that you can use to balance out those expensive guys at the top, which is nice.
Yeah, they don't look like the best value for me on DraftKings. They just sort of exist, and that's really what I got from an ownership perspective. Now on FanDuel, Kurt Suzuki at 2,300. I like that. He's getting 23% ownership on FanDuel. Is that crazy, or is he like a good? I mean, I guess he's a good enough hitter that it doesn't matter, right? You don't normally see a catcher hitting 7th getting that sort of ownership on FanDuel, especially not when he's like he's not even the flat minimum. It's 23.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good hitter. I don't know that I would want to pay. I don't know that I'd want to play anyone at that ownership on a 14-game slate.
I agree. Adams, the other guy, looks to be the best value for me, also getting ownership, but that one makes a little bit more sense to me with his power and the matchup. Any Marlins bats against Sanchez? Brinson?
He's so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he's minimum priced. Austin Dean's down there too. But and Garrett Cooper is actually a good hitter and he's cheap. But overall, no. There's 28 teams and they have a 3.7 implied run total and a bunch of bad hitters.
Yeah, we are on the same page. Didn't get much. Don't care to. Like every other day. Favorite bat in the game?
Soto.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Adams factoring in price.
Sure. A lot easier to find a Matt Adams than a Soto, I think. I don't know. That's probably not true. Yeah, I would go Soto, but it's close. Yankees and A's. 5.9 run implied total for the Yanks. 5-1 for the A's. CC Sabathia versus Brett Anderson. And this is a game with absolutely no ownership on either side. I guess like $27 CC on Yahoo is okay. I don't get the sense that I'm going to be having either one of these guys.
Me neither. Just not great strikeout stuff from either pitcher, not great strikeout matchups for either pitcher. Both teams have plenty of right-handed power. Looks like Luke Voit might be back in the lineup. Gregorius, I think, is expected back in the lineup. So it's getting a bit deeper for the Yankees. Not a game where I'm really looking for pitching.
No, I can't do it. Yanks really getting no ownership outside of Gary Sanchez on DraftKings. Luke Voit on FanDuel. A's essentially not getting much either. These teams are in like the 2.5-3% range in terms of aggregate ownership, which is middle of the pack on a 14-game slate. I got a lot of the A's and not much Yankees on DK. I got a ton of the A's on FanDuel, not much of the Yankees. Do you have a preference between these teams?
The Yankees.
Okay.
Anderson has, I mean, he's not a strikeout guy, but against righties this year, he has a 12.9% strikeout percentage. He's allowed a 370 expected WOBA and a 208 expected ISO. His actual WOBA is 328. His actual ISO is 164. My total guess, I mean, so obviously you can see the gap in what has happened, that he's gotten lucky as far as limiting production of the righties. But when you keep in mind that he also pitches his home games in Oakland, I think that those numbers kind of make sense. And now you have him going into Yankee Stadium, which hasn't been the best hitter's park this year, but it's not Oakland. And you have, LeMahieu, Judge, possibly Voit, Torres, Sanchez, possibly Urshela, all to deal with in this lineup, and probably not getting ownership because they're not great values, although they're not super expensive either. I think that the Yankees are in a really good spot.
Oh, well, we are on opposite sides here. Tons of Oakland for me. Love getting righties. I love getting this Oakland team when they're facing a lefty. I always feel like CC Sabathia should be a guy that's getting just shellacked.
He's not there.
No, not at all. Well, kind of. I mean, 181 X ISO this year, a 375 regular WOBA. It's been limited to just a 318 X WOBA. Wow, I would not have expected him to have a 26% K rate against lefties. It's not a ton of pitches, but still.
Yeah. No Chris Davis today either hurts. Well, you would think.
Yeah. It does hurt. In theory, it hurts. It hurts us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, just looking at the pricing too, 5,100 on Semien, 5,300 on Mark Canha. That's not the most appealing pricing to me.
So, I have 10+% of Semien, Chapman, Olsen, Canha, Pinder, Profar, Sheldon, Noose. The A's right now are ranked 4th for me, and as of this morning crunch, they are the second biggest gap between my rank and their ownership and my second most owned team. So I am Team Oakland as of right now. Not mad about it. Run total looks great. 5-1 in Yankee Stadium. Plenty of power to go around outside of basically this Sheldon Noose character. If they are 3% owned in the aggregate, do you think you'll have Oakland? Now I'm just trying to justify it for myself.
Yeah. It's not that I think they're bad. I just
prefer the Yankees.
I
get it. Not a crazy stance, that's for sure. Favorite bat in the game?
Sanchez at 4,700 on DraftKings.
That dude. I feel like I can't ever get that dude right.
What do you mean just play him and then he hits?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. That's the thing. When I play him, he doesn't hit. Anytime I don't have him, it's like, oh, Sanchez double dong, both 3-run.
Have you tried Will Smith? Instead?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Also,
did that go better
for me? No. It's like 85% of Sanchez. Worth a shot.
Yeah.
As weird as this sounds, best value bet that I have in this game is Chad Pinder. 3,400 for
probably batting like 5th or something.
Yeah. So I'll take that. I have so much Oakland. Go Oakland. Go Oakland.
I was gonna say, like, we had that whole conversation, but at the same time, I've been getting so much Oakland lately that I'm not even confident that I end up there.
Yeah.
Like, end up not being high on them.
Pinder and Seth Brown jumping off the page from a value perspective. Sheldon Noose at the flat minimum on FanDuel, I think, is appealing if he is in the lineup.
What is a Sheldon Noose?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm looking him up now. I don't know anything about him.
I also know absolutely nothing about him. So
Fangraphs has him as Oakland's number 9 prospect. He's 24. He has 60 grade raw power, 35-50 game power. At AAA this year, he had 27 home runs, 233 ISO, 126 WRC plus in the PCL. 23.6% strikeout percentage. Steamer has a 138 ISO, 88 WRC plus projection, but seems certainly like he has upside at least.
I'll have him. That much I know. Give me 1 second. Just grabbing my ownership so I can see it in front of my face while we're doing this.
Pretty crazy that the PCL, like I just kind of thought about it, but AAA went to the Major League Baseballs this year. So now you have the PCL with rabbit balls.
Yeah, some of the park factors for home runs were like 150, which, seems a bit aggressive. Alrighty, let's keep it moving. Phillies and Mets, 4.6 run implied total for the Phils, 4 for the Mets. It's Aaron Nola versus Zach Wheeler. Nola getting love on Yahoo at $52, 20% ownership. Only 5 on FanDuel, 9 on DK. I essentially didn't get to him. Wheeler is at 10% on Yahoo at $38. 2% on FanDuel, 13 on DK. I'm under the field there as well. Do you think you're paying up for Nola, or do you think you're going to Wheeler?
I think I'll get more Wheeler probably. I don't know that I'm really paying all the way up at pitching today, just because there's so many bats that I like. It's not a great matchup for Nola. He's certainly talented enough to put up a good game against anyone, but you're paying full freight basically, and the Mets don't have a lot of strikeouts in this lineup. Adding Joe Panic from the Giants gives them a sub 10% strikeout guy thrown in there, which certainly doesn't help either. Whereas on the other hand, you have Wheeler facing a pretty mediocre Phillies team. The top of the order is pretty good. The bottom of the order is not very good. The park is good for home runs, but it's not that hot there today. It's also one of the better strikeout parks in baseball, so that helps. And we know that Wheeler gets a long leash too, so you get a little bit more safety, I guess, if you want to call it that. Just knowing that he generally is going to give you 6 innings. He's going to throw a lot of pitches as long as he's pitching reasonably well. He hasn't had a good start over his last 3, but that obviously is not something that I'm too concerned with, especially because it did drive his price tag all the way down. So it just kind of feels like when you have him next to Sanchez, the thing that makes me interested is that you have Wheeler basically at like his price floor, and you have Sanchez basically at his price ceiling. So I just become more interested in Wheeler.
I mean, I will have more Wheeler than Nola for sure. I don't get the sense that I'll have a lot of either guy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine I have more than like 1 or 2% Nola. It's just not going to be. It's not that day. Any bats in this game, because this is basically a full stay away for me.
Yeah, I'm not really on this one.
I have nothing. The public has nothing. No one higher than 4% on either team across all 3 sites. I don't have anything to add here.
Me neither.
Blue Jays and Astros, 4.2 run implied total for the Jays, 5.8 for the Stros, 65% chance to win for Houston. Trent Thornton versus Wade Miley. No ownership going to Thornton. I don't believe that it should. No ownership going to Wade Miley. I don't believe that it should. Do you want either pitcher?
I do not want either pitcher. Wade Miley at $10,000 is pretty insane. He's 39 on Yahoo is okay, but still just not somewhere that I would expect to get to. And then on the other side, Thornton's cheap enough where if he ends up in some lineups, I guess it wouldn't be shocking, but it's just a brutal matchup. Obviously, just a really, really good Houston lineup. They don't strike out. They have tons of power. The only positive that you could really say is that most of their good hitters are right-handed, but even now they're running like 4 lefties out there most nights. So it's not even as righty heavy as it was before. So it's just really tough to get to pitching here.
Yeah, I have very little interest. Blue Jays, 3% owned on DraftKings. No, 3% owned on FanDuel, 4 on DraftKings. So, middle of the pack on this slate. Astros a little bit more, 5 on FanDuel, 8 on DK. A lot of that ownership on DraftKings going to Abraham Toro, who is skyrocketed to 2,400. How do you feel about the Stros here? I got to like half the field, basically like 3-4% across the board. I have a little bit more on FanDuel. I don't know, I'm okay with it, and I think that they can bomb Trent Thornton. I just don't know if paying the normal freight for the Astros is going to get me where I want to be on a day with Colorado and Pittsburgh again.
I think a lot's going to come down to the ownership, because there's just a lot of teams in this around, with the around 6 implied run totals that I like. Obviously I like the Astros, but I really like the Yankees. I like the Nats. There's the Gaming Cores. There's the Twins. There's all these teams that are really, really in really, really good spots. So a lot will obviously come down to the final ownership projections. But I also don't think Thornton's terrible, especially against right-handed hitters.
Yeah.
This season, he's held righties to a 337 expected WOBA, 158 expected ISO. Not, dominant numbers, but not total gas can. So it's not like it's the easiest matchup for Houston. Upgrade, number one home run park so far this year in Toronto. So I'm happy with any Houston I get to, especially Alvarez and Toro and Brantley. The lefties I think are more appealing, but I'm just not. I don't have them like miles ahead of the other teams around them or anything.
Yeah, I agree. There will be some amount of Astros in my lineup. They're more likely to get sprinkled in as one-offs and smaller chunk of stacks than anything else. It's just really hard to get, like, we've got the Nats, the Yankees. I obviously like the A's, Twins, Braves, Rangers, Red Sox. All these teams have run totals north of 5. I didn't even mention Colorado and Pittsburgh being north of 7. So
right.
There's just a lot to go around, and the Astros are priced exactly like they should be, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. I can't imagine. Well, I mean, they are getting the ownership because of Toro. I would have assumed that they weren't like a very popular optimizer play. That'll be interesting to see as we go further on. Favorite bat in the game? A lot of similar looking shit here.
Yeah, I mean, Toro from a value standpoint.
Right. No brainer there.
Yeah. From just a points standpoint, Alvarez.
Okay. Give me Springer, but we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah.
Josh Reddick is flat minimum on Yahoo. I think that's at least worth a peek.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah. I mean, he's hitting 9th, so there's a limited amount of what you're going to get here, but righty lefty, or the minimum, is worth a look at least. Rays and Indians, 4 point.
I just have a pitch data stat that I just happened to see.
Oh, hit me.
So Teoscar Hernandez against left-handed cutters, 31 at bats, 380 expected WOBA, 289 expected ISO. Wade Miley throws his 45% of the time, and it's the only reason that he's good. Not something that I weight heavily, and it doesn't even mean I'm going to have any Hernandez.
Right.
It's just interesting.
Fun one off at 3,600. He's $15 on Yahoo. Makes it a little bit more tough, but 3,600 on DraftKings looks nice.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like I'm like plugging in Hernandez now, but
sure. No, I like hearing that sort of stuff. Makes you think. Yeah. Rays and Indians, 4.1 runs for the Rays, 4.4 for the Indians. Austin Pruitt for Tampa, Shane Bieber for the Indians. No ownership going to Pruitt. He's a flat minimum on Yahoo, so I guess he's viable there. Bieber, 19% owned on Yahoo, 7 on FanDuel, 13 on DK. I got to 8 on DraftKings, 9 on FanDuel. I expect that to be sort of where I end up. Just a handful of lineups with Bieber. I just don't really want to pay all the way up to 11.8, 10.6, or $52.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where I'm at too. I love Shane Bieber. He's someone that I'm pretty much always over the field on, but I just don't know how conducive it is. This slate is to paying all the way up. We talked about it whenever the last full slate was that we did a morning show after, how even when there's not a lot of mid-range pitching that you're confident in, there's just a lot of mid-range arms, and there's going to be guys that have good games. Yeah. So from a roster construction standpoint, normally I think you're just better off mixing and matching through those guys and getting good bats. And then, just hoping that you have the guys that have good games. It just, I think that gives you a better chance at winning tournaments as opposed to paying $12K for a pitcher that isn't, Verlander against the Tigers or something like that. The Rays aren't a great matchup. It's a great park. Bieber's a great pitcher. It's not a bad matchup, but none of those things make me want to pay almost $12K for Bieber on a slate where we are trying to decide between like 10 teams that have 6+ implied run totals.
Really, you just need to avoid Clevenger's start from the morning yesterday. If Bieber goes out there and drops 39, it's problematic.
Right.
You'll wish you had him. If he's in the mid 20s, he'll largely be irrelevant on a 14 game slate.
Right. The margin of error on slates like this for an expensive pitcher are just like zero.
Yeah.
Like as soon as they give up a run, if you don't have him, you kind of know that you're not dead because he's not getting like a complete game shutout.
Exactly. I basically don't have bats in this game. They're unowned. 6% ownership going to Mercado on Yahoo, 6% to Puig on DK. Everything else is zeros and ones. I didn't get it. The public's not getting it. Are you going to get it?
Probably not. I don't think Pruitt's any good, and I do think the Indians are good, but hitting in Tropicana on this slate is pretty unappealing. Yeah, I don't think I really get it.
I like Puig at 3,800. I like Mercado at $8 on Yahoo, so the public makes sense from an ownership perspective, but this is not a game I want to stack up. Just no interest. Flying through this, Tigers and Twins. 3.7 run implied total for the Tigers, 5.3 for the Twins. I actually don't know if that's true. There was not a line on this game when I started today.
I think it's like 6.
Okay, so there is a line on this game now. Let's go ahead and update. Let me just get that update in there now.
I don't know how to math. What is it, 10?
I don't know. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think it's 10.
There were 3 games that didn't have lines. Baltimore, Kansas City still doesn't have one, so I won't be updating that. But let me just throw these updated lines in while we're here. Oakland and Yankee. Nope, that's not one. Indians Rays was one. I was close enough on that. Twins and Tigers. Minus 273 plus 248. Now I can do this without freezing my sheet, so pretty good. I've fully updated everything. Yeah, I know. It only took me 5 months. Indians Rays is 8. That'll make me like Bieber slightly more. Just an extra half run. Twins and Tigers I had at 9. That is 10. Perfect. All right, let's try this again. 3.8 run implied total for the Tigers. 6.2 for the Twins. 72% chance to win. Edwin Jackson, Kyle Gibson. Yeah, so certainly don't want to be looking at Edwin Jackson because he is garbage. Kyle Gibson, 17% owned on Yahoo, 7 on FanDuel, 13 on DraftKings. He's pricey, but I mean, this is as good of a spot as you're going to find.
The Yahoo price is great at 33. That's where I would really be looking to get a lot of him. He's on FanDuel and on DraftKings. It's kind of the same ballpark that we were talking about with Anibal Sanchez. It's a good spot. He probably has a good game, but once he's like 9,500 on DraftKings, the range of outcomes just like skews towards not being very good. He's going to disappoint at 9,500 more frequently than I think he's someone that you have to have at 9,500.
Yeah. So 13% expected ownership, 13% for me feels perfect. Happy to be there.
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Yeah. What we do need to talk about is this. 8% aggregate ownership on FanDuel. 17 going to Kepler, 18 to Cruz. Nobody else 10 or higher. On DraftKings, it's 4, with Eddie Rosario being the highest owned guy at 10%. I currently have 28% aggregate ownership to the Twins on DraftKings. That is 7 times the field. Probably not going to hold there. Don't think I need that much. I got a massive amount of the Twins on both FanDuel and DraftKings. They are, without question, my favorite stack relative to the field. How do you feel about the Twins?
I think a lot will come down to the lineup. It looks like Kepler, Sano, and Gonzalez all have Q tags for today's game. So there's some chance that we just get a atrocious lineup out of Minnesota. Yeah. But if we assume that it's some variant of a good lineup, then I'm right there with you. Edwin Jackson he's made a couple of starts recently where he hasn't looked like the worst pitcher like ever. But overall, just still 418 expected WOBA, 301 expected ISO to righties, 377, 225 to lefties. and obviously one of the best offenses in baseball in Minnesota. So if they're not going to get ownership, then I put them ahead of the Yankees. I put them ahead of Houston. I put them ahead of the Mets.
God, I'm gonna get so much of these goons.
And they're not even that expensive. Like the good hitters are expensive, but you still get some value with Arias and with Castro and with Cave and Gonzalez if he's in the lineup. And those are all guys that are competent hitters too. So at least in some regard, like Arias doesn't have a ton of power, but he's a good hitter. Cave doesn't produce consistently, but he has power. So they all at least give you something.
Yeah, I have just infinite amounts of these guys. They're gonna be my top owned stack, barring those three dudes just not being in the lineup. As long as they're not like dusting off the corpse of Kirby Puckett, I think I'm gonna be okay. Yeah, I want all of these guys. Do you have a favorite Twins bat today?
Rosario is 4,600.
Yeah, we are on the same page there. Jason Castro is $10 on Yahoo. I think that makes for a very nice catcher option, particularly because he's unowned, 5% ownership.
Yeah, I almost, when you mentioned dusting off Kirby Puckett, I almost was like, who was the guy that was on the Twins and then went blind and then realized it was also Kirby Puckett.
He did. Yes, he did. Went blind from being a horrible person, I think. What I understand, he was not great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jake, you around? Talking, you know everything about the Twins. Kirby Puckett was probably retired before you were born.
He was one of my favorite players, like when I was a kid.
I hated him because I was a Braves fan.
Yeah, I mean I was an Orioles fan, but
I hated the Twins and I hated the Blue Jays growing up.
I did like the Braves when I was a kid. I think I can still name like their entire 1995 like lineup.
They were just like in the early 90s. They were just fun. I mean, the pitching was dope. They had guys like David Justice, Griffey, or not Griffey, Jesus, Dion for a bit, which was obviously like fun. I mean, I know that I could rip through those like 90, 91, 92 teams. McGriff,
Mark. That's how I remember like 95 through 97.
Yeah.
McGriff. Yeah, it's like them, the Indians, obviously the Orioles, but then the Braves, the Indians, and the Rangers are the three that I think I can still name almost the entire team.
Yep, I know the feeling. The old Mark Lemke, Jeff Blauser pairing up the middle. Oh, God. Amazing. Harry Pendleton.
Javi Lopez.
That's a little bit later.
Well, no, it was the same. That was mid-90s.
Sure. So I'm thinking more like the first run of World Series teams.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
That's when I attached myself to them.
Yeah. The 95 World Series, I was 5. So that's kind of when my baseball starts.
Ugh, not a great World Series. Any Tigers?
No.
Yeah, I don't have anybody I want to name. So let's just get away from these goons. Speaking of the Braves and the hoodie that I'm wearing, 5.5 run implied total for Atlanta, 4 for the White Sox, 65% chance to win for the Braves. Max Fried going for Atlanta, Ivan Nova going for the White Sox. Fried's ownership, 21% on Yahoo, 11% on FanDuel. Brace yourself. 51% on DraftKings.
That is not what I wanted to see.
That's some chalk right there. I got to 44, and that felt high. Let's go through it, because I think that we really need to talk about it. Look, Fried at 7,500 is just simply, it's not the correct price for him. That is what's causing him to go bonkers at 51% ownership. The White Sox are a middle-of-the-pack strikeout team against lefties. They've been better than league average from a weighted runs created plus perspective against lefties. Is he getting over-owned here just because of his price?
I mean, I think he's the best pitcher play on the slate.
I agree.
So,
and I don't think that it's particularly close because of the salary.
Right. I think it's correct. Kind of. It's weird because I think that he should far and away be the highest owned guy, but at the same time, there are so many other pitchers around. It's still unlikely that he is the top scorer.
Yeah. I mean,
but then
let's say that. So what do you think the odds are that he is a top 2 scorer? I mean, it's tiny. It's a tiny number, right?
Right. Yeah. But when the thing is that he has, so this is how he's different than Sanchez and Gibson. He has the potential to be a top scorer on the slate, as do they, but he has that fallback where he's not a top scorer, but he's still a great point per dollar play.
Yeah.
Those guys really don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a much. I don't want to use the word safe because it's baseball and he's not safe. Nobody's safe, but there's just less downside risk on him than the other guys.
The price saves him. I mean, he should be the same price as Anibal Sanchez.
He should actually be more expensive than Anibal Sanchez. But.
Right. Where do you think you end up? I know we talk a lot about not really caring about our pitcher exposures and these sort of.
I think that I'd probably just get a lot because it's going to be really easy, I think, to be contrarian with hitters on this slate. There's 28 teams, so ownership comes down anyway. But you're going to have ownership going to Coors. You're going to have ownership going to some combination of these other teams with 6 implied run totals. So I think that it's going to be easy to find low-owned hitters. I think it's much less easy to find good pitching that is affordable. So I expect that I'll have a ton of Fried and just be different elsewhere.
Agreed. Like, this is if the Twins are going to have 4% ownership on DraftKings and the A's are at 4 and the Red Sox are at 5 and the Dodgers are at 2. Okay, then I'll play Max Fried with those teams and I'll be fine. And just cross my fingers that today's not a day where the Pirates scored 7 in the first. Which I'll also probably still have the Pirates. I don't really know how you get away from it. What do you think happens to his ownership? Do you think 50% holds? I don't see it going anywhere.
I think it'll come down a little bit maybe, but not a ton. Like it's just really weird to see a 50% owned pitcher on a 14-game slate.
Yeah. I don't think it can go lower than 40.
Right. In lower stake stuff, like in the $11 150 max on DraftKings, I bet he ends up being like 38% owned or 40% owned or something.
Okay. And then Yahoo and FanDuel, clearly I want to have him. I got 8% on FanDuel, but he's more appropriately priced on both of those sites.
Yeah. And he also, this isn't like we're just looking at, the White Sox are bad. Like Max Fried is good.
Yeah. And I don't think that the White Sox are bad against lefties either. I mean, they're running out a lineup with 9 righties.
Yeah.
Potentially. And, guys like Abreu, Moncada, Jimenez, Tim Anderson, are legitimately decent baseball players. I mean, it's not fun for him at all. I mentioned in Spotlight Pitchers, White Sox have like a minuscule walk rate. And I think that's pretty interesting because of Fried's price in that even if he makes a mistake, there's a higher likelihood that mistake isn't one of those murderous 3-run dongs because they just don't really get a ton of base runners. And that's just another saving grace where Max Fried can give up 2 solo dongs or 3 solo dongs and still strike out 10 White Sox.
He also has been throwing his slider a bit more. So going back, there's not like a perfect starting point. It's not like Mike Montgomery, where it goes from like 0% usage to 20. But if you go on Fangraphs and you look at his pitch types, going back to June 19th looks like where you start getting consistent, like 15 to 20% usage and sometimes more. Since then, he has a 26.6% strikeout percentage, 3.12 xFIP. Against righties, he struck out 25.1%. So, I mean, he's been really good all year, but the strikeout numbers have been trending up as well, which I buy into because I thought that they were artificially low at the beginning of the year. Like his stuff is too good not to be striking guys out. So if anything, I think that he's getting even better. And he's been the best pitcher in baseball this year as far as barrels per batted ball. He's got the lowest percentage allowed among qualified starters.
Play Max Fried, guys. I think it's that easy, at least on DraftKings. I think we can safely skip over Ivan Nova.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been like good lately, but he's facing the Braves, and I don't. So like someone like Max Fried, I am quick to jump on them improving because they have all kinds of talent and they should be improving. Ivan Nova, we kind of have a track record of what he is, and it shouldn't be a guy that is suddenly striking guys out and being really good.
Do you have any interest in White Sox bats on the opposite side of Fried on DraftKings?
If it were a smaller slate, like, I mean, you still, if he's going to be 50% owned, obviously you can get there because like Anderson, Abreu, Moncada, Jimenez, McCann, that's a stack that doesn't suck. But the opportunity cost is still just so high on this slate. And you can, The problem is, so let's say that, because if you're stacking the White Sox, it's basically the thought process is that you're trying to get half the field dead with their Max Fried, but that can happen without the White Sox being the team you need.
Yeah. They're
Fried
still
can
not
score
likely
12,
to blow up.
right. Fried can score 12 fantasy points. Half the field is still dead, and the White Sox scored like 6 runs.
Right. Yeah. We're on the same page there. Like, Fried is actually good. His ownership is coming because of his price. He should be more expensive and still viable on this slate. I'm not targeting the White Sox because I assume that their chances of being the top stack will be like one of the 5 lowest teams on the slate.
Right, and that's why I think the slate, in addition to, so normally I don't really care about leverage all that much on big slates just because pitchers aren't getting as much ownership. But the other reason it matters is what you just said. And even if Fried is getting 50% ownership, if this were like a 6-game slate, the White Sox would need to beat out 11 other teams. But here, they still need to beat out 27 teams to be useful.
Yeah, and there are 10 of them that are like massively more appealing. There's going to be 50% odds of being the top stack stretched across these top 5 or 6 teams, and the White Sox are going to be at like 2%, 3%.
Right.
So, yeah, if you're in a field of 60,000 entries, if you're playing the quarter on FanDuel or the mini max, like those are spots where you're trying to get a slightly different lineup. But if you're not in a large field contest, there's no need to try to be different on the opposite side.
Fried's barrels per batted ball are just so insane. Like, he's 3.7% of batted balls against Fried this year have been barreled.
That is a tiny number.
Anibal Sanchez actually 5th, or tied for 4th with Syndergaard.
Yeah, that's like what, 2 a game, 1 a game?
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, this is the top 5 is Fried, Soroka, Stroman, Syndergaard, Sanchez, and then Wade Miley. So it's almost like there's some correlation between really, really weakly hit balls and pitchers that prevent runs better than we think they should.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Braves up against Nova. 4% aggregate ownership on DK, 7 on FanDuel. I got to 8 across both sites. I certainly want to get some Braves against Nova. Nothing crazy, but like they're not in a void.
Yeah, they're fine. If I get there, I get there. I think I would have them behind the Yankees and the Twins.
Yeah.
And maybe the Nats.
I agree. Matt Joyce for 2,400 I like on FanDuel. He's $7 on Yahoo. Cervelli only $9 I think is viable. You have a favorite Braves bat?
There's no one that like really jumps out to me. I mean, obviously Acuna and Freeman are really good, but they're also really expensive. Donaldson is fairly priced. Yeah, there's no one that I think is like a great play at their price. I just think that they have some good hitters.
Fair enough. On to the 8 o'clock games, which means it's perfect time for everybody to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Coming up later today, immediately after this show, 11:30 a.m., Ben Rasa, Jordan Frank, Awesome Odds betting show, talking college football this Saturday and NFL Week 1 lines. Myself, Jake Hari, and the boss man, Alex Baker, will be live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time doing a Yahoo-specific strategy show. And then the normal closeout for us. Adam and Laffy are back at 4:45, running through this slate again for the deeper dive. And myself and Jake Hari, for the 5th time this week, closing out live before lock, taking you guys to 7:05. Rangers and Mariners, 5.5 runs for Texas, 5 for the Mariners. Colby Allard, Marco Gonzalez. Neither guy really getting any ownership. You want any Allard at 8K?
Yeah, am I crazy for kind of liking him?
No, I mean, like, I got 5%. That's more than a couple of these other guys that are in that same area. The problem is, like, I just greatly prefer Sanchez and Wheeler or Fried. So and he's just pinched by that.
So explain to me why Anibal Sanchez is so much better than Colby Allard, factoring in that he's 10% more and that he's got 6 times as much ownership.
Well, I think the ownership is a different conversation.
Okay, so just take the ownership out of it. Explain to me why Anibal Sanchez is so much better than Colby Allard at a 10% increase.
I have them separated by 5 fantasy points right now, but let's dig into it. Comparable strikeout rates. I think Allard's overall talent level is probably a little bit lower, although that's probably up for debate. Pitching in Texas, certainly not going to be better than pitching in Washington. I would say the matchups are... I mean, the Marlins are worse, for sure.
Definitely.
Although it's not like a slam dunk. Let's see. I have Allard projected for 4.9 strikeouts, Sanchez for 5.9. I mean, I think it's ultimately just little bits of everything. It's the park, the slightly better matchup. I think that Sanchez has the ability to go deeper into this game than Allard. I see where you're going, though. Look, they're not separated by all that much from a value perspective. It could shift pretty easily and get me a lot closer on Allard, and the ownership, I think, is something to pay close attention to. I don't think it's as outlandish as like it seems from their ownership.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So we're on the. It was like, who's going to score more points, Sanchez or Allard? I would say Sanchez.
Right.
But I just think that their ceilings are about identical, and Allard's cheaper and a lot lower owned.
Sanchez has the much higher floor.
What did you say?
I would say that Sanchez has the higher floor, and that's what we're kind of seeing bear out in the ownership.
Yeah.
And I agree with you that their ceilings are comparable.
Right. Yeah, so I don't know. I just think if ownership stays how it is, Colby Allard's pretty interesting to me. Like, if you pair Allard with Fried, you're getting a pretty nice ceiling, and you're only spending $15.5 at pitcher.
You can certainly go to one of the chalkier stacks then, too.
Yeah, you can roster whoever the hell you want.
Yeah. Any Marco?
Texas is so bad, but I can't justify Marco. The strikeouts are just non-existent. Although recently what is going on with him? Over his last 6 starts, 8-2, 9-6, 5-5. Let me see if I can figure anything out with him.
I feel like you're shouting out a phone number.
Yeah, so my assumption was that I didn't want to get there because he strikes out next to nobody. But Texas has been a really good matchup, and seems like maybe Gonzalez is getting more strikeouts. I don't know, something that I'll at least have an answer for on the deeper dive if I can't figure anything out now.
Fair enough.
Like, I mean, I'm pulling stuff up, but
you want to talk about chalky Mariners bets?
They're
not chalky. Tim Lopes, 31% owned. If he's hitting leadoff, he's 23% on FanDuel. Makes their aggregate exposure look really high. It's not technically really high. I don't have really any interest in the Mariners. I didn't get too much.
Tom Murphy's a good catcher option.
Ooh, 4,900?
He's got power.
I don't disagree. I think that how much is Gary Sanchez?
47.
Okay, I'll take Gary Sanchez.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree.
Bottom of the Mariners order has some decent, there's some value plays here. I don't want Seattle. I got the 2% on FanDuel, 1 on DK, and it's just not where I want to be. But if Tim Lopes or Lopez, or however that is actually pronounced, is hitting leadoff at 3,300, that is a very viable cash outfielder for you. Yep. Rangers bats, Odor on Yahoo looks great at the flat minimum. Nick Solak is $16, so it's going to be a little bit easier to jam Odor in if you need to. I got to 8% Texas on DK, 6 on FanDuel. That's slightly higher than the field on both sides. Do you have any interest in the Rangers against Gonzalez?
Not really. They suck.
I agree. Wow. Odor is 0 for 27 in his last 9 games.
I think he was like 0 for 44 in his 12 before that. So I mean, in all seriousness, Solak's a perfectly fine value. Chu and Santana are okay, but I just can't get to those guys over all the other good offenses. And as far as Gonzalez goes, it looks like nothing really has changed. Like he struck out 30.8% against the Tigers and 33% against Tampa. But other than that, in those 6 starts, 8% against Houston, 20.7 against the Tigers, 21.7 against Tampa, 19.2 against the Blue Jays. So basically the same. Just not a high strikeout guy. I think that I would rather roster Allard. I'd rather roster Bundy. I'd rather roster Sanchez in that price range.
Is Odor DHing or is Solak DHing? Or does Solak play a different position?
I have no idea.
They're both just straight second base across all 3 sites. And obviously Elvis Andrus isn't coming off of short anytime soon, so I don't know much about Solak from a defensive standpoint. We don't get a lot of points for defense, so
yeah.
It would probably just DH Jeff Mathis.
He was up in like a big spot in his first at bat last night against Hernandez, and I was sweating Hernandez, and I was just like, he's 100% about to homer.
Yeah, he homers, points at the camera, gives you the crotch chop, takes the lap around the bases. Be great. It'd be so
So
great.
yesterday, Solak DH, Odor played second.
Tears his jersey open, ship my modem DFS on there. It'd be great. Takes the trot. Everybody's just like, what the fuck is he doing? Solak DH'd?
Yeah, Solak DH'd.
Is Odor good defensively? I always felt like he wasn't. It seems like he wouldn't be.
I don't know. He's my favorite. He's got my favorite second base highlight of all time.
What is it?
Punching Bautista in the face.
Oh. I'm trying to picture him like, ranging deeply to his right into like center field or something, throwing it on a hop.
Nope, just punching Jose Bautista.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
The game before that, Solak played second. Odor didn't play.
At least they're both second.
Yeah.
Cardinals and Reds. 4.1 run implied total for the Cards, 4 for the Reds. 52% chance to win for St. Louis. Dakota Hudson versus Trevor Bauer. No ownership going to Hudson. Bauer, $39 on Yahoo, 37% owned. 9,600 on FanDuel, 17% owned. 10-4 on DK, 21% owned. I am pretty sizably behind the field here. Are you paying up for Bauer against the Cards?
It's nice getting the discount on him compared to Bieber or Nola.
Or Dillinson Lamet. I didn't say that name correct, but you know who I meant.
Yeah. And I mean, I still think Bauer's good. He's not having a great year, but I haven't given up on the guy. So I think that he's kind of appealing at that salary, but I still don't think I get a lot just because it's like we talked about the other day on the Garrett Cole slate. The bottom, the really, really cheap pitchers are guys I really don't want to get to. So it's going to be tough to go that route roster construction wise. And then if I'm going like Bauer plus Fried or something, I'm really limiting my offenses.
Yeah, I got to 11% Bauer. He's at 21 on DraftKings. That's fine. I don't want to not have him, but I don't need to go crazy.
I think what'll be interesting for me is Bauer versus Bumgarner. Like, I don't know. Well, I don't know where I end up. I could just see like really prioritizing one over the other.
I got a lot. Well, I got basically no Bumgarner. So
that's normally where I end up.
We don't want any Dakota Hudson, correct?
No, not at 9,200. If he's, what is he on Yahoo?
33.
Just play Gibson there.
Yeah. Dakota Hudson looks like he got Max Fried's price today.
Right.
And Max Fried looks like he got Dakota Hudson's.
If Max Fried had that salary on DraftKings, this slate would just be like so difficult.
Yeah. Very.
And on one hand, I kind of wish he had it, but
I for sure do.
Yeah. Like I'd probably still roster him.
Anything that increases the degree of difficulty, I think, is a benefit for us.
I agree.
Ooh, that sounds really smarmy and egotistical. Doesn't make it any less true, however. I have absolutely no Cardinals right now. Don't really see the need to get there. I have very little Cincinnati. Don't really see the need to get there outside of maybe $9 leadoff Josh Van Meter on Yahoo. Are you trying to stack up either side of this game?
Probably not. I'm with you on Van Meter's salary. Joey Votto is also 3,600 on DraftKings.
Yeah.
But no, this is a game that just kind of feels like it could completely disappear.
Let's hope. Potentially some weather as well, per Shannon Lambert in YouTube chat. So maybe it'll actually disappear. Wouldn't mind that at all.
Oh yeah, it looks like the only game with concerns.
Perfect. Time to talk about your boys. Still no line. I know that Bundy is up in the air. 4-6 for the Royals, 4-9 for the Orioles is what I have in here. Eric Skoglund and Dylan Bundy, although we did have someone in chat earlier say that he has a source saying it's going to be John Means today. I don't care. I appreciate the information. I don't mean that I don't care that you said that. I don't get the sense that it's going to make a single difference to what I'm doing. Other than the fact that I like Dylan Bundy today, 8,100. I have 14%.
The pitching here really does matter. But yeah, I think Bundy's fine. Like if it's Bundy, cool. He's 8,100. He's probably someone that I would rather roster than Sanchez if he's going to be lower owned.
For reference, just to get this out of the way, John Means is 6,100 today.
Right. That's why I was saying pitching definitely matters here.
Yeah.
Because I think Bundy's a good play, but if I can get Means at 6,100, like that's something I think I get to a lot.
So, Jake's in YouTube chat quoting me about this sounds egotistical. Doubles down. Doesn't make it any less true. Yeah, $6,100 Means, if that's in there, is would you rather have $6,100 Means or Dylan Bundy unowned at 8,100?
$6,100 Means.
Okay.
Especially if Kansas City's going to run 5 lefties out there. Like it's dangerous for Means against Merrifield, Soler, Dozier, but against lefties this year, he has a 26% strikeout percentage, 267 expected WOBA, 152 expected ISO. It becomes like a really good spot. I mean, I guess they probably go with like 4 lefties because they probably play Cuthbert. But
let me throw Means in and see what it does.
What'd you say?
I'm going to throw Means into the sheet right now and find out how it looks. Again, since I fixed my spreadsheet and went through and didn't code it like a total boner, I can do this stuff on the fly now. So Orioles, let's change that to John. Let's assume that the line stays the same and that Means goes. What do I have? I have Bundy in for 5 1/3. That's probably aggressive for Means.
I'll say it's probably low on Bundy and about right for Means. Maybe a little low. Yeah, it's probably right for Means.
Well, I mean, I don't know how ready he is. Without digging into it, I'm not changing it. I'm leaving it at 5 1/3. We'll just see how it plays out.
He's on normal rest.
Okay. So Means at 6,100 would then, if I did leave him at 5 1/3, John Means in this lineup instead of Dylan Bundy becomes my top value play below Max Fried and the second best point per dollar play on the slate behind Max Fried.
That seems reasonable.
13.2 fantasy points at 6,100.
Yep.
So there we go. Now I'm going to switch it back to Bundy, by the way.
What do you say?
Now I'm switching it back to Bundy.
Glad you're finally coming around on my boy.
On Means?
Yeah.
He's winning by default today, man.
You sound pretty excited about
him. It's 2 days before September in baseball. The excitement's just been drawn out of me. I am over this baseball season at this point. The grind is real. I could not care less. But hey, there you go. On the fly updating to see that if John Means ends up being the starter, keep an eye. Jacob Treadway, if the Reds game doesn't play, could potentially move the Sonny Gray start to the second game on Saturday. Already is the second game on Saturday. He's been announced as the starter later. No, yeah, Hunter in chat now. Sue pointed out the John Means stuff, so appreciate that. Let's circle back now. Skoglund?
Yeah, he's bad. If he were like 4,800 or something, I'd be interested, but he's not any good. The Orioles really aren't terrible offensively. Like Alberto, as VR, Severino, those guys are all pretty difficult outs for below average lefty.
I love that the way to describe the Orioles is not terrible. It's this gap between the ass end of the rankings and, average. they're just firmly in like the below average. Like,
you look at the Marlins, you look at the Tigers, you look at the Orioles. These are like the three worst teams in baseball. But you look at their lineups as far as how confident you feel in a pitcher going against them, and it's like night and day.
Oh yeah, I think that not terrible is the perfect way to describe it, because saying that they're good or average or anything is not a correct statement either. Not terrible slots them exactly where I expect them to be.
Right.
I like it. Speaking of this not terrible team, okay. Essentially unowned on FanDuel and DraftKings, like 3 to 4%. I got 8% Orioles on FanDuel and 11% on DraftKings. I love the Orioles. Not terrible at all.
I think they're a pretty good stack if you wanted to pay up at pitching. Like if you go, I don't know, Bauer, Fried or something, you can stack the Orioles and still get some decent one-offs. The problem I have is just, again, that the opportunity cost for hitters is so high on the slate. And the Orioles are inexpensive, but they're not free. VR is $5K.
I would really like him to be back in that leadoff spot if I'm going to be paying $5K.
Up there is pretty nice, but
if I'm paying $5K for Jonathan VR, I'd rather him be getting more at bats.
Yeah. I thought you just meant which VR was.
Oh no, I don't give a shit. I have no concept of how he is as a leadoff hitter. I just mean, like, I would prefer him to pay off that salary a little bit more than $4K Alberto.
Yeah. Alberto, I'm double checking it now, but they mentioned it on the Orioles broadcast, is like top 10 or top 5 as far as like the batting title in the American League goes.
Really?
That's what they said, if I heard it right.
Is this now like the cruiserweight belt where he doesn't get compared to like the rest of the league?
Hitting 317.
Yeah.
125 ISO.
I mean, when's the last time you looked at the batting title race? You were 14 years old?
Yeah, exactly. But it was just one of those things, they said it, and I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah, I don't think I've done it since Larry Walker was in Colorado.
Right. Yeah, he struck out 8.9% of the time this year.
Damn.
He's walked 3%.
Yeah, I'm going to be getting to some Orioles here. They make for some decent filler against Skoglund. Do you think you'll get to Royals against Bundy and or Means?
Against either one, I really like Soler and Dozier. And actually Merrifield. So 1 through 3.
You mean the only good hitters?
Yeah. I mean, I consider Gordon good too, but not in the same category as those guys.
I loved Gordon in college.
Nebraska, right?
Yeah. It was peak college baseball PS2 video gaming.
That game was so good.
I fucking did, man. We played the shit out of it in the dorms. Because you could sim games in 5 minutes. There was like a sim screen where you could just be like swing, basic kind of like OOTP, but graphically on the screen, but with college players.
Yeah,
dude, we lost. I can still picture playing from a night where it's raining, 6 o'clock, get a case of beer, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're hammered, and it's just like fucking Jared Weaver. I think he was on the cover of one of the 2 versions of that game. Alex Gordon, Ryan O'Hearn. Okay, I might as well just read off the guys that aren't $7 on Yahoo. Gordon, O'Hearn, Valorius, Starling, Phillips, all $7 on Yahoo if you need to pay down. But Gordon would be the one you're actually looking for. I don't have anything else here, but I'm going to have some Baltimore, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you that they're a good filler. And I do really like Soler and Dozier. But especially, like Bundy gives up a ton of power. These guys both have a ton of power. Yeah. And then Means doesn't strike out righties. So anytime they're putting the ball in play, it's pretty appealing.
Favorite bat in the whole game?
Soler.
If it's Bundy, it's probably O'Hearn for me.
It's still Soler for me.
Okay. Alrighty.
John Means still has the most vertical movement on his changeup of all starters that throw changeups.
It's a losing battle, Adam, arguing with a guy who doesn't even watch baseball. Are we
What'd
arguing? I don't know. That's a quote from YouTube chat. It's a losing battle for you to argue with me because I don't watch baseball.
It's what for me because you don't watch
A
baseball?
losing battle.
What were we arguing about?
I have no idea. Nothing? Absolutely nothing? Rockies and Pirates.
Non-contentious show so far.
Yeah. I mean, it's a I guess it would have been, I don't know, who were we talking about? Colby Allard? That's like the only one.
Maybe he's saying, maybe he thinks that I actually cared that Alberto's in the top 10 in batting title and you didn't.
Oh yeah, no, I know for sure that you don't care at all. At all. I mean, ultimately, when it comes to baseball, I think we're going to be on the same page here. We don't give a single shit what happens, although you would like the Orioles to be better. The only thing that matters are your DFS results.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I am for every sport. Like, I would love the Orioles, the Wizards, or the Redskins to win a championship, and I'd be really excited and rooting for them. But until that game, I'm just caring about my money.
Yep.
Which is why it was really cool that the Caps were the local team that finally won a championship, because I don't play DFS hockey, so fully enjoy it.
Let's say that there's a swing of, like, you've got a World Series sweat going with the Orioles, and a swing of the bat can win you a contest but lose the World Series for the Orioles. Let's think of it like a reverse Joe Carter. What's the amount of money for first place where you're just like, I'll take the World Series? Or is there one where you're just like, no, I would rather have the money?
How did my previous month go?
You've been neutral. You've been neutral for October. Neutral.
50.
If it's 50, you want the World Series win, or you're taking the money?
If it's less than 50K, I would take the World Series win probably.
That's that. I feel like if you are sitting in first, if you're sitting in first for 40, you're like, I'll take the 40.
Yeah.
Fuck the Orioles.
20, maybe. Well, like, so if you flip it around, it's tougher. If you're basically saying, like, how much money would you pay for the Orioles to win the World Series?
Sure.
And that answer is a lot lower than 50.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, is it 5K? Would you pay $5,000?
The only thing, and I've had this debate with people on Twitter too about, like, liking sports teams being dumb and stuff. It would be really cool for the Orioles to win a World Series at some point, like, while my mom is still alive, because, like, we've watched them together like my entire life.
Sure.
So, like, there is, like, sentimental value to them winning, but also there's value to having, like, $20,000.
Yeah, it's $20,000. That one is purely measurable. That $20,000 is not anything other than $20,000.
Right.
Rockies and Pirates. Coors game. Round 3 for Rockies Pirates, I guess. 7.5 for Colorado, 7 for the Pirates. Senzatella, Agrizal. I got to small amounts of both of these guys, 3 and 5%. Can't. I mean, it's. I don't have anything to say.
You're not recommending them, but if basically the way to think about it, if you're getting them into some lineups, is, let's say you have a twin stack with really good one-offs. Obviously, both of these pitchers suck, but they are the minimum salary and they let you get those bats in. And for your twin stack to win, you need Coors to not score a lot of runs. And if Coors doesn't score a lot of runs, there's a chance that a 4K pitcher pays off. So that's kind of how you're looking at it. There's no, I think they're going to have a good game. It's just that lineup to win a tournament. It gives you a better path of least resistance to win the tournament by just hoping they go out there and have some line drives be hit at people.
You need that. You need the Trevor Williams game, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of both of these guys. The most likely scenario is those lineups die.
Yep.
But both of these teams are chalk, although not as chalky as I would have expected. So let me pull it up now just so we could talk about it. On DraftKings, Rockies are 13% owned. That is clearly number one. Pirates are third at just 7%. I got a little bit north of the Pirates, a little bit under on the Rockies. On FanDuel, Rockies again, chalk. Pirates are 4th behind the Nats and the Mariners. Although that Mariners one, again, not true. That's not team stack ownership. That's just Tim Lopes/Lopez being 30-something% owned. I mean, other than... So the way that this is shaping up for me right now, I don't expect to be crazy heavy on this game. In particular, the Rockies if they're chalk. If it means so many of these other teams are just like a third of the ownership. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to get away from it, but I don't get the sense that I'll have as much as I did yesterday.
Right.
Relative to the field.
And it goes back to what I said when we talked about the Twins. A lot for me is going to just come down to what the ownership looks like among these teams. Because while in a perfect world, people just roster like the Twins and the Yankees, and I just get cores at low ownership. Yeah. But that's not going to happen. It just comes down to how popular are they compared to other teams. Because while they're in the best spot, there's not a huge difference, I don't think, between the chances of one of these teams winning the slate or it being a team like the Yankees or the Twins or some other really good offense.
Yeah, we're on the same page here. I got to 14% Colorado on FanDuel, which matches the field. I got to 6% Colorado on DK, which is half. Pirates, I'm over on both, and it looks like the Pirates are significantly less owned, which that just makes me prefer the Pirates today. But
yeah,
there's no avoiding this game.
What do you say?
There's no avoiding this game in max entry.
No, and I mean, if I sort my lineups at 645 and I look and I don't have a lot of Rockies or Pirate stacks, I'm going to assume that that's the play that I want to make based on my numbers, but it's not going to make me feel good. And I'm certainly not going to be getting like too excited early in the night before that game starts.
Same. Yeah, I hope that the ownership holds and then I can just get like 2.5 times the field on the Twins, the A's, all the teams that we mentioned before that just aren't picking up the same sort of ownership. Let's talk some individual bats. Favorite Rockies bat?
Murphy at 4,500 on DraftKings.
Yeah, agreed. He's 3,300 on FanDuel. I would say that's the same situation there.
Is Hilliard still free on FanDuel and Yahoo?
No, $15 on Yahoo, $29 on FanDuel.
Yeah, so still free on FanDuel.
Well,
basically,
I mean, for a Coors game, sure, but
Murphy 13 on Yahoo.
Yes, yeah, he's clear across the board for me from the Rockies. What about the Pirates? I don't find them to be like super duper crazy appealing.
Kevin Newman's 15 on Yahoo. That's a really good price.
That is very true.
On DK, it wouldn't be surprising to me if the Pirates really don't get that much ownership.
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty expensive for their true talent levels.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously that's not to say that we don't like them because the ceiling is enormous, but
yeah.
You're definitely paying. And it's the thing is the almost entire lineup's expensive. Whereas the Rockies, Story, Blackman, Arenado are expensive. And then you get quality value options in Murphy, McMahon, Hilliard, Desmond, I guess. But with the Pirates, it's like Newman's over 5K. Reynolds is 5,600, Marte 58, Bell 57. You get a drop off to Moran at 46, but then you go right back to Ozuna at 52.
Yeah.
So you
doesn't let up.
Yeah, your full stack is just expensive and forcing you onto really questionable pitching.
$3,100 Ozuna on FanDuel looks really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Look, we're not telling you guys anything you don't already know about Coors. Just keep an eye on the ownership. I think there are better options to win you a large field contest today if the ownership looks like it does later.
Yep. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's one of those you're playing. If you play every day to win the tournament, then over the course of the season, not having Coors on a day like this, if it goes nuts, doesn't matter. If you're looking at it like, I want to make money tonight, which is the wrong way to look at it. But then it's you with the way ownership is right now, you have a much better chance at like min cashing some lineups with Coors.
Yep.
But it's easier to win by having some other teams.
Perfectly said. 3 to go. D-backs and Dodgers. 4.3 runs for the Diamondbacks, 4.7 for the Dodgers. Zach Gallen versus Tony Gonsolin. Neither guy getting any ownership. I don't get the sense that I'm going to be grabbing anybody with regularity here. Any Gallon or Gonsolin?
I wish Gallen was cheaper. I would get to some, but
Yeah.
I'm not paying 10K for a pitcher against the Dodgers, even if I do think he's really good.
We're on the same page there. I mean, Gonsolin's 6,400 on FanDuel. That's at least like oddly appealing, but not that you should be loading up on that on FanDuel on this kind of slate.
Because he was throwing like 4 innings a start at AAA. And he went 5 innings last start. He went 6 a couple starts ago. 76 pitches last time out, but he went 90 on the 5th, so I guess he's capable.
Diamondbacks bats. Outside of Josh Rojas, nobody picking up any ownership. Looks like a decent cash play for you. 2,500 on DraftKings, flat min on Yahoo and FanDuel. I didn't really get to the Dodgers though either, but I'm kind of cool with that since Gallon is talented. Jock Peterson 25% owned on Yahoo, where he's $8. We'll be putting him in our cash lineup in 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough spot for the Dodgers. The one thing that's kind of interesting is they're sort of similar to like the Cubs when they faced Syndergaard the other day, where it's a really tough matchup and you don't expect them to come through. But at the same time, if you just look at the power upside compared to the pricing, like you can get a lot of upside into your lineup by stacking the Dodgers. But there's just so many good offenses. I don't think that they become a priority.
Yeah, I have basically nothing. 2 to 3% of most of these guys. Not that appealing to me. I mean, clearly, if I get, Bellinger and Jock and Corey Seager, I'm not freaking out. But I'm sure they'll blow up Zach Gallen and not be able to hit Merrill Kelly. So.
Right.
Angels and Red Sox, 4-7 for the Angels, 5-3 for the Sox. Jose Suarez, Nate Eovaldi. I got a little bit of both of these pitchers on DraftKings, and they're not getting ownership. I have 15% Suarez and 10% Eovaldi.
You have fun with that.
Which one? Both?
Both.
Not super fond of it. I don't know. I don't know what to do here.
Don't put your Suarez once you put Means in.
That's true. I would. I have them both at 1.8 points per thousand rather.
You have Suarez and Means at the same?
No, Suarez and Eovaldi.
Oh, okay.
No, Means was 2.4 or something like that.
Okay.
Are you gonna get to either guy?
No. Just really tough matchup for both. Neither's a great pitcher. And I mean, I say I'm not getting to them. Like, I have no idea if I get like 2 Suarez lineups or something, but I'm not getting a bunch of either one.
Okay. Bats.
I'd rather get the Red Sox.
So I didn't get to much Red Sox. They're not really that owned. Chris Owings getting ownership at 2,100 on DK. That should be not that surprising. I feel like I should be getting to more Boston, but I just think there are too many other teams with 5+ run implied totals that are in better spots.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair argument. Suarez just not really that good so far against righties. 17.3% strikeout percentage, 360 expected WOBA, 175 expected ISO. That's Bogarts, Martinez, Sam Travis gives you some value, and then you get just good left-handed hitters with Devers and Benintendi. Vasquez has some power at catcher. The Red Sox are always a team that I'm interested in if they're not getting a lot of ownership, and I don't expect that they will, given the context of this.
Yeah, I don't mind getting to them. I want to see where they rank relative for me. Yeah, I'll probably be neutral to the field, I guess. Something in that neighborhood. When I walk back the 28% ownership I have to the Twins, I could probably reappropriate that a little bit. Favorite bat in the game? Yeah, I got mine.
JD.
I'll take Mookie.
Yeah, sure.
Closing it out. Giants and Pods. 3.9 run implied total for San Francisco. 3.6 for San Diego. Madison Bumgarner. Dinelson Lamet. Bumgarner. 25% owned on Yahoo. 18 on FanDuel. 23 on DraftKings. I have 3% on both of those sites. 20 going to Lamet on Yahoo. 9 on FanDuel. 4 on DK. Don't really have a ton of interest, particularly at 10-7, which is comical. Yeah, it looks like Bumgarner is the guy that I'm going to be avoiding today. Not that I don't see the clear appeal, but 8 righties would be tricky.
Yeah, it's not a great strikeout lineup either. I mean, it's a great park for run prevention. It's a good matchup for run prevention and all that. But I don't want to pay for run prevention. I want strikeouts. And Bumgarner, even at home, is around a 24.5, 25% strikeout guy. Especially with people going there, I don't think I end up getting there. For Lamet, second highest strikeout percentage on the slate. He'd be kind of interesting at low ownership, except for with outside of that one game against Seattle where he took a no-hitter into like the 7th inning, he's just not throwing a lot of pitches because there's no reason for the Padres to have him throw a ton of pitches. So it's really tough to pay $10,700 for 90 pitches from someone.
Man, Bumgarner is going to be tricky for me if he's really getting that kind of ownership.
It's just, I mean, I think he's a good option. He has a high floor. He's in a great park. I just don't worry too much about a $10,200 Bumgarner sinking my night.
That's a good point. If he beats me, he beats me.
Yep.
If he dies, he dies.
That's kind of how I feel all the expensive pitchers tonight.
Yeah.
When you factor in price, like Bieber, obviously, I think is someone that can break a slate a lot more often than Bumgarner, but he's also almost 12K.
Same. And you're never surprised with whatever Bauer does. You could have 15 strikeouts or throw 3 balls over the center field fence.
If the weather cooperates, I think Bauer is the most appealing of the expensive pitchers.
I agree.
I just think that he doesn't have the floor that Bumgarner. I hate even using that, but you know what I mean. Like he doesn't have the run prevention spot that Bumgarner does.
Right.
But he's got a comparable ceiling. He's just as capable of having a monster game as Shane Bieber is, but he's $1,400 less. He has a higher ceiling than Bumgarner. He has a higher ceiling than Lamet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's the guy.
Okay. I don't really have.
I'm gonna get a ton.
I don't have bats in this game. Do you?
No. If
Ty
if
France,
that's
18% owned on DraftKings. Whew.
Who?
Ty France. He's 2,400.
2,400. Yeah.
They have 3 hitters 2,400 today. France, Luis
Ooh,
Urias, and Hedges.
Yeah. Wow. That is a really cheap team, but maybe if I liked expensive pitching more, like if Garrett Cole were facing the Tigers today and I don't know, someone else really good was facing maybe if Garrett Cole was facing the Tigers, Sonny Gray was facing the Marlins.
That makes sense. Do you have I don't even have to ask for a favorite bat in this game. Who cares? There isn't one,
Manny Machado.
Sure.
Hunter Renfroe. 14
games up and down. We are done. Again, everybody, hit the like button. Please subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. Ben and Jordan will be up in 22 minutes talking college football Saturday and week 1 of the NFL. Jake, Alex, and myself will be back at 1 o'clock talking Yahoo specifically, and then the normal closeout, deeper dive at 4:45 with Adam and Laffy, 6 p.m. Eastern, live before lock. Same link. You don't have to go anywhere after a deeper dive. Myself and Jake Hari closing it all out. Anything else, Adam?
Nope.
That'll do it. We're out of here, everybody. Best of luck today. We'll talk to you again later.